So hello everyone, this is SIG Scheduling Meeting for February 19th. We are past the cap freeze, we are doing coding, so a lot of reviews. But let's start from the agenda items. So, Paweł.
Yes, so this is something that I already mentioned on the SIG scheduling Slack. So we are looking into the opportunities of integrating some aspects of cluster autoscaling into Kube scheduler logic as a part of workload aware scheduling initiative. So to gather some feedback on a high level approach which we are considering, we have created a document describing 3 APIs which we consider could be used for exchanging information between the autoscaling component and Kube scheduler. Basically, we would like to get some feedback on this high-level proposal, and this integration is also something that we would like to discuss during the KubeCon, the workload aware scheduling summit during KubeCon. So this document is also an input for the discussion which we would like to have during the summit.
Okay, are there any questions? So I may have a one, like that's definitely something that I think we had in mind. So those 3 APIs, but the last one I'm wondering because the capacity provisioning, if I understand correctly, we are requesting to provide some capacity, and it takes time until it gets provisioned. Is this correct?
Yes. So basically, this is a request for capacity to be provisioned, which basically translates into some number of Kubernetes nodes which we want to be added to the cluster.
Sure, but is this possibly asynchronous so that we can request capacity and get confirmation that this capacity will be available and it will be provisioned like asynchronously later, or we don't have any confirmation that this capacity will be provisioned and we just waiting whether it will appear or not?
So the API in the status should contain the information about the status of the request. The flow is that the Kube scheduler would create a request. The provisioning component would start the provisioning, and as soon as possible, it would update the status of the request with the information whether the the provisioning is possible or not. So the component creating the request should get the update on the status of the request before the actual nodes will be created, but still it can take some time before the status of the request will be updated.
Okay,
But I think
but rejection.
the expectation is probably it will be like seconds to maybe small tens of seconds. Like hopefully,
Yes.
like for the relatively high percentiles, it should be like single digit seconds, but it will not be like milliseconds. So it's not that like we will be able to use that like information. I mean, we can make some assumptions about that, but like we will not have confirmations for like next scheduling cycle, next few scheduling cycles, most probably. So
Okay,
yes,
but rejection should be like we should learn about request rejection earlier than nodes are not appearing, right?
Yes. This like the status should be updated significantly faster than
sorry, I haven't
node
had a chance
startup.
to like read more about this particular API. Kevin?
Yeah, I just have kind of maybe a dumber question. Is there any way to like leverage? I'm thinking like for the queue integration, we have work with provisioning requests, and I see that it sounds like there's three. I guess it looks like three new APIs being added for cluster auto scaling. Is it is it the understanding that this work would all go under like a new API and we wouldn't support existing auto scaling APIs for WAS?
So the provisioning request API, which is currently like supported by the cluster autoscaler, could be considered like or has an overlap between two of the. It overlaps with two of the APIs. So the potential capacity and capacity provisioning API. However, the problem with the provisioning request API, as it is currently implemented by the cluster autoscaler, is that it is focused on pods. So basically, it allows to pass information that some pods require capacity for being able to schedule. So this means that the component which basically implements this API needs to be able to do the scheduling simulation in order to basically discover how many nodes needs to be provisioned for those pods to become schedulable. So it means that basically the implementation behind this API needs to have like large part of the scheduler logic. So it does not give us too much when it comes to avoiding logic duplication between the provisioning component and scheduler. When it comes to the proposed APIs, those are focused on nodes, not pods. So it means that basically the component behind them needs only to understand what kind of nodes can be provisioned in the cluster and it needs some logic to actually provision those nodes. It doesn't need to understand the complexity of pod scheduling. So I would say this is the main difference between the provisioning request API and the proposed ones.
Okay, thank you.
Derek?
Yeah, so with queue and like WAS scheduling, I wonder if the answer isn't to do something more where like with along with buffers, because from what I understand from queue, you guys know you don't necessarily need to speak the language of I want X nodes in Y shape. So like going granular down to the level of being able to say like Q being able to say give me a certain amount of nodes doesn't feel like the right integration because Q is considering more like talking more like pod language where it says I want to be able to schedule headroom of X size and Y time or whatever. So is the solution here that we like keep those two abstracted and this is more for the like reactive scaling of I have a workload that I'm putting in now and we do the translation at that point. Does that make more of a sense than
I think what we haven't really discussed in Q, like Q has its own concept of a workload, which is going to be fun for us. I'm trying to piece together like all of the auto scaling work because there has been some interest in having Carpenter support Q, and I wasn't exactly sure. Like it doesn't sound like provisioning requests is that avenue. There's that capacity buffers or whatever, but it sounds like there will be a new API, and eventually I'm probably imagining Q would need to create the workload, sorry, the Kubernetes workload to request the autoscaler to provision this stuff. So that's at least kind of what I'm probably imagining is going to happen in the like long-term future. I am not I'm more of a Q reviewer, so I don't actually know what the Google Q folks are planning around this area, but I imagine that there is probably some work we'll have to think through as all these auto scaling APIs come to V1. But
yeah,
So-
I think that makes sense.
So just to add like a few words from my side, like the buffers API is focused on proactive, basically provisioning capacity. This proposal is about, as you said, reactive, just-in-time provisioning of capacity. So basically. Some workload comes in, it cannot be scheduled on existing capacity, and some additional capacity needs to be provisioned, and basically currently this is handled by the cluster autoscaler, which basically needs to or Carpenter, which needs to basically do the simulation, scheduling simulation on their own. And in this proposal, this simulation logic would at least partially be handled by the scheduler directly, avoiding the duplication of the logic and potentially allowing for some additional optimizations, which would allow, for instance, to take into account some preemption opportunities into account while considering those scale up options for the cluster. So this is much more like reactive API. When it comes to the queue integration with workload auto aware scheduling, we should have some document to share about how we what's the plan for this integration or coexistence. So I think in like a few days we should be able to share together with the Q team what is the plan for this integration.
A question for you, Kevin, is the raises the question, since we're talking proactive versus reactive, is the queue use case like, would you be fine with proactive versus reactive? Because from my understanding, the problem with Carpenter integration, I'm a Carpenter maintainer, was that like Carpenter doesn't have a good way to, queue doesn't want to just create pods that then Carpenter can scale in reaction to. You want to do some kind of preactive scaling, or proactive.
I think it's proactive. I mean, my understanding is the idea for what we do for queue, someone submits a job, and then we basically are like, oh, hey, we can't fit this. I'm now going to trigger the autoscaler to get the node created for when the user creates it. It's done through, in queue, it's done through an emission check, which is essentially it's checking for capacity, like from a user submits a job, checks capacity, doesn't fit, calls the autoscaler, gets the nodes created, and then it's runs on those. So that's at least the integration point that we have. But this is all under, this is pretty extensible. So right now we have an emission check that directly integrates with the provisioning request. I don't know, like, I haven't even begun. I don't know where the capacity buffers is in support, so I haven't even looked at the integration point for Q on that one. Like, I think we would probably want at least a beta or a V1 API in the autoscaler, and then I don't think it's implemented in Carpenter yet. So
Yeah, buffers is alpha. Moving to beta, we're planning on doing Carpenter support. I think I've got someone on my team working on it right now. So for a roadmap, that's what we're looking at. No promises. Um, but for the whole proactive versus reactive thing, from my understanding of provisioning requests, I don't understand CAD's provisioning requests all that well. Is it like a node thing where you say like, give me a node that fits this shape? Or do you say like do you bundle it more like a buffer where you say that like I have X replicas of pod with these selectors and you need to accommodate that? Go at it.
Later one. So it's basically the pod template with a counter.
Okay. Yeah. Because Carpenter doesn't have a way for you to specify. You'd have to actually translate it into like node objects. You have to translate them into node claims in order to do the provisioning. So um, I think once we do buffers integration, that would be the way that we would do proactive scaling. And I think that that's where we should position the buffers API in general from auto scaling. Like that should be how we talk about proactive scaling. If we need to create higher level abstractions that like abstract workloads into preemptive pod scales, like into capacity buffers, we can do that. But like I'd rather not create a bunch of APIs that all do proactive scaling.
Okay, so if there are no other topics, let's move on. Philip, you are referring to one issue comment, right?
Yeah, I guess I have like a couple of questions in general about like gang scheduling enablement. So as far as I understand, we have like with this CAP and PR, we have three feature gates. One is for the gang scheduling itself, then for the workload API or pod group, and then enable with workload with job. And like when all of these are enabled, like we should get all the like capabilities. So so if you create a workload and a pod group for your pod with a gang scheduling policy, you should get gang scheduling behavior. Is this going to change in the future, or like when all the feature gates graduate, is this behavior gonna stay, or like that you have gang scheduling in this case?
So one of the beta graduation criteria is to figure out a solution to this problem and basically make sure that we have some kind of API on the real controller side, like job controller side, that allows user to like express intent, like what should happen, what I want, and make sure it like doesn't break anything or yeah. So we don't have answer yet. The purpose of this integration was mostly to validate workload API and ensure that we can integrate controllers like job with workload API. Obviously, like for GA and beta, we need like some kind of API on the real controller side. We don't have it, so that's something we need to figure out. So, but that I think explains the decision. I hope that does it make sense. Like why?
Yeah, I'm
Why?
like I first like have some like basic questions. Like if you for any like pod you create the pod group and a workload, that's the way the workload is going to communicate with like scheduling side, that it should be doing gang scheduling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically pod group only, because
Okay.
after migration the workload is not watched.
Yes. So I looked like I saw the graduation criteria for the workload with job.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically says that we should figure out how to opt in or opt out of gang scheduling. Like if I understand it correctly, right now we plan in alpha to create like gang scheduling by default for
In some
if
cases, yes. Like For very specific jobs, like for jobs that have like parallelism greater than one, of course, because otherwise that like is no op effectively. For those and that have like completions equal to parallel, because that presumably means that like that means that all of them are running at the same time, and hope and in majority of cases it will actually be a gang. And for those that are indexed only, because those are usually the ones that are like ganked. So those are like arbitrary, maybe not arbitrary, but those are the criteria that for which like we see that pretty much every single job with matching those criteria seems to be a gang. It's not that only those are gangs, but we wanted to start small to prove the like as Matt mentioned, like prove the integration model, not to really provide like wide value from the very beginning.
Yeah, so as Matt mentioned, like we will be moving to a state like where the controller should like have a toggle to enable this kind of behavior. So we plan to like basically in alpha to have like to me it seems like a breaking change like to the original behavior, because you have gang scheduling if even if you have not chosen to. So we will be like going back to the normal in beta.
so that's not yet decided, but maybe that will be opt-in. Like we need to figure out like how to solve it. Like obviously it's important that we don't break on like modify existing behavior in a way that like might be disruptive for some use cases, right? So
Yeah, I guess in alpha like people
yeah, I
might
think we all agree
expect.
that okay in alpha, right? Because like you need to explicitly enable this like alpha gate and
Like it relies on alpha API. So
yeah.
no one reasonable will use it. Like no one reasonable uses alpha APIs in production because it's just not safe. So that was the reasoning here, right? Like we can anything that is not like API change, we can like just easily revert later and change our mind.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
like looking at the comment that you added, right? So we should have a way for a data engineer here to express their intent in beta, right? That's what we have in mind when we are saying that we need to have some kind of API where I can express the intent and say whether I'm in case one or case two, whether I want gang scheduling or not, right? In this case, it might be like opt out, maybe is what we need, right? But we need to analyze the problem more deeply to get like a full answer. Andre?
Yeah, sorry, quick question. So does it mean that we're going to break this API for job controller in any case before we're going to beta?
Define break API. Define the API here. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is like, do we require to go through alpha stage for the new API we're going to reduce later?
So if we decide to extend the job API, which may or may not be the case, but like if we decide to provide an API on the job level to like opt in or opt out or whatever, that has to go through alpha first.
Yeah, I think I had a comment that effectively in the wherever sorry, it's hard to track GitHub comments, but I think that is what I mentioned is that 1.36 we would have this implementation. If we introduce a new API, it would have to go alpha in 1.37.
Yep.
And
I think sorry, go ahead.
No, and I think that's fine. I think that I do have like there's a lot of work here in general. I think it's okay to iterate. And I think like we know that right now we have a breaking change with elastic index jobs, which is not going to this won't proceed without having some way to support that because that would break the users that may be using that one. So there are some other items we have to address before we go to beta. I don't think we've gotten much clarity from the job users whether or not like they want gang scheduling as like the default or not. I don't really know how to answer that one, to be honest. It's odd that we did not have gang scheduling for distributed jobs, but it is what it is now. So I think that still remains to be seen.
Yeah, so I will be looking like into that in the coming weeks. But I just wanted to like point out one thing that for the job integration, we won't be able to go to beta in 1.37, right? Because that depends on workload API and podgroup API. Right? Do I understand correctly? So can we go with something to beta when we have a dependency on something that is beta disabled by default? So we can, in theory, go to beta disabled by default. So in theory, it's possible. But the value of that is like we were already discussing that with like Maciek Szulik too. So like I think we are pretty convinced that we will not even try to attempt beta for like gang scheduling in job in next release exactly because of that reason. Like because
so I think
beta
the reason
by default will not provide any reasonable like coverage or like impact for or on any user. So like let's not even try that, and let's figure out all the remaining details still staying in alpha in 1.37, and then let's combine beta with
so 1.38, right?
I think that decision we kind of already made in one of the comment threads, like on that cap. So that was exactly what I wanted to say. I think that basically as part of that we need to we will have time to like basically discuss the API that we want to expose, that like whether it's like opt-in or opt-out, like what are the defaults, how exactly like users should be able to use that, and so on. So that is something that we will only try to do in 1.37, but the reason why we actually started or we are pushing for doing what we are doing in 1.36 wasn't to really deliver value, but really was to validate the workload and podgroup API concepts and show that the model actually works and controllers can use it. So that was the goal, not to provide the value per se, but rather like to validate it.
Philip?
Yeah, thanks. So I guess that answers my questions. So I guess with the alpha, the stress is on the experimental part. And basically, we plan to do most likely breaking changes in beta. and this ties together to one like technical points, two technical points, which is we will have to figure out like what to do about the old created objects of like the workload and pod group, because it's there might be like a split which some jobs might decide to be opt-in, some opt-out, and we still have like the resources there. So that's one point. And the second point is we are also adding like a stricter validation in alpha, which we might want to or need to revert or not. I guess we will see.
Yeah, so as Kevin just wrote, like this will happen before beta. So like, if someone really created the workload objects or pod group objects or whatever, like once the feature was in alpha, we kind of don't care. Like there were a number of cases in the like ecosystem or like in the project itself in the past where like we were breaking, we don't like it. Alpha by definition is like experimental feature, and like use it at your own risk, and like we can do whatever we believe will be the right path forward, and will not care about like breaking you. So we are kind of doing that already as part of like the another alpha of like workload API. We don't care about like if someone used the workload, the V1 alpha 1 workload in 135, it will not work at all. Like it will just start. Like it will not even like convert to the new version of workload. So like according to our like deprecation policy, we are free to break alpha, like users who enabled alpha APIs.
Okay.
So yeah, so basically, just I was just trying to say that we will not figure out the way to like if someone enabled this alpha, like we will not care about like upgrade path for that. We will as long as it stays in alpha.
Yeah, next time that we will basically in 137 hopefully come up with an API, as Wojtek said, with all the defaults, etc. I think those will be those will define the policy. Like we won't care what was already created in alpha, we'll just overwrite and like use those like defaults that we all agree on. Yeah, so I also see it this way.
Okay. So moving to another topic, we were discussing the possibility to move the meeting 2 hours earlier to make it suit better for European time zone. Now I think we had some agreement before, but since we are like extending SIG scheduling, and most likely we will have workload hours scheduling sessions at the same time to not confuse. At least I'm assuming that we will have such a setup. Derek commented that that would conflict with SIG autoscaling. Wojtek, what do you mean?
Oh, go ahead, Wojtek.
No, sorry. I like for me 5 p.m. just doesn't work. It's like at the time that I need time for my family commitments, and I'm not able to move it because I can't pick up kids from school earlier, and I can't pick them up like after that because it's that after that it's too late. Earlier they are still having classes, so it's just the only slot when I can pick them up, and like that means I wouldn't be able to join.
Does 1 hour work? Moving it back 1 hour?
I have another conflicts, but those I can probably resolve differently. So like if we can move it like by 1 hour, I think that should work for me at least.
We could also
we
maybe,
can
I think
consider-
SIG autoscaling is technically half an hour, not a full hour, or at least we mostly use half an hour. So if we wanted to move it 1.5, that might work as well. But I know people probably like round start times.
We can also consider changing day of the week if no hour works for us.
Okay, but that would be a like probably longer process to figure out what days are fine. Okay, moving by 3 hours, it's probably not possible, right? Because for US people, so
That would be like 7 a.m. for West Coast.
Yeah.
So it's like for those people, it's probably
doesn't make sense.
If it's the only time
we
slot
can
that
do
works.
it, but I think not for everyone. Not everyone wanted to wake up by 6.
Yeah, I think Heba, you are not maybe the most representative given you are joining 2 a.m., like 7 a.m., whatever, like whatever the time is, like it fits for you. So
Yeah, I'm trying just to like meet you people in like in the middle. We need to work together. So I'm totally fine to work early, but I know it might be problem for others. So yeah, let's not have 7 a.m. for this.
Okay, do I assume correctly that we may want to align the VAS meeting and SIG scheduling to be at the same time every 2 weeks? So SIG scheduling 1 week and VAS meeting the following week. Is this a goal, or you are not convinced?
For now, the workload meeting is happening every week because we have lots of topics to cover. I'm not sure if we are like moving it to bi-weekly. This is totally fine, but are we there yet? Are we okay to move it to bi-weekly now?
So that's my question, because currently we would have, in the week when we have SIG scheduling, we will have 2 of those, right? One on Monday and second on Thursday.
Mhm.
We basically cover like mostly the same. So do we need to have it?
Yeah, so I think the point is like usually we don't have a full agenda for SIG scheduling, right? So there is some time to discuss like workload hour scheduling. We are doing that anyway, right?
I think
Related
it also
topic.
probably depends on like point in the cycle. Like
Well,
maybe
obviously, right? Because like
next
the
couple
time
weeks,
between,
maybe we'll have like more slots during scheduling and less topics because there are still no caps yet for the next cycle and so on. But like I think it will change in like 2 months or so, or like month and a half again. So I think I'm not sure if we need 2 meetings now, but I'm fairly sure we will need 2 meetings. Like,
but we can. I would err on the side of having like less meetings regularly, and when there is a need, we can always schedule something extra, right?
I'm
Or
I'm
like,
just for now, this makes sense, but like in the future, as you can mention, like as you can see right now, like auto scaling started to come, like the workload. I can see lots of other area that will start to have conversation regards workload. So SIG scheduling will not be like the best place to have this conversation, and we will have to have a workload meeting anyways. So I'm not sure if we just like have this conflict with SIG scheduling would be a good idea or not. But again, for now it's working. So let's change it for now until we feel like we need to change it again. That's totally fine.
yeah, I think a good signal would be whether we are accumulating backlog in the agenda, right? We are not able to go through all the items in one meeting. I think so far that's not the case. And also, like about auto scaling, we are discussing auto scaling today here, right? And I think Dominic, that's probably not a big problem for, given that
So
like
that's the
workload
problem.
scheduling is
So
like I think mostly connected to scheduling and yeah.
so if I understand correctly, the concern might be that once we have working group for VAS, having topics covered on SIG scheduling might be confusing for people who are just interested in VAS.
Yes.
But I think
This is
if we
concern,
have
right?
working group, then we need to have a dedicated meeting, right? That for me, that's obvious. That's like cost of having one of the costs of having working group.
Yeah. So for that, I don't want it to just have a conflict with the SIG scheduling, just for the future. But again, for now, all good, totally fine. Let's do that.
I would try, and if we start seeing signals that like this one meeting every week is not enough, then we can always change that, right?
Sure.
Unless like someone has like different opinion here, or
it will be a little bit like confusing for people who are interested in just focusing on the workload, not other topics for SIG scheduling. This is not the case for the maintainers and the contributors, like anyways, because it's one, but for others, specifically users and like end users. So this is another point to take care of. But again, let's try and see if we got any like any feedback. We can change it later.
Yeah, it's a fair point, but okay, if you're okay to try, I also like to try, and we can always like revert the decision.
Okay, so let's try to find a one day in a week with and try to find a slot for 5 p.m. That works.
No, 6 p.m. right, Wojtek?
But not on Thursday. For 5 p.m. some other day, or it doesn't work.
I think it
school is every other
any day. Like it's
Okay, you have
literally
children like every day,
unless
right?
it's Sunday or Saturday. Then,
yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Unless
So
it's like
if I
Saturday
want-
on Sunday, yes, but we don't want to do that. Yes.
Okay. So then moving, but why 1 hour? Thursday is also okay.
It works for me. Yes, I don't know about others.
Okay, so okay, great. Yeah, I think the short status about code reviews, like what we managed so far is to merge the workload scheduling phase PR, which was pretty important because it was there were other PRs dependent on it, so that was important to do it as soon as possible. And the next one is which we also need to focus as soon as possible and merge it is workload API in VI Alpha 2. If I understand correctly, we have discussions how to exactly do it according to the rules. I'm not an expert there, definitely, at least not yet. But I think we don't have an answer yet, right? We are waiting for.
No, I think we roughly know. We just like team made a first pass on that, and added some comments. And I think we know what to do. Like my understanding, I didn't look into it like in the last 3 hours or so, so I don't know like if we applied like all the changes were applied. But I think we know what to do here. It's not that we are blocked here. But yes, this PR is blocking a bunch of other stuff. And like all the other API changes we will be doing on top of that. So it's pretty critical. Yeah.
Okay. I looked at it. I'm reading mostly the last commit with the changes to scheduling, and most of the time this is like almost automatic renaming, so that's good. I don't see any concerns there. So yeah,
that was the goal, like to make that part of the scheduler like just mechanical and like do all the like further like enhancements on top of that.
Yeah. Okay. Chyba there's a lot of progress in creating Slack channel and labels. Yeah, we have labels dashboard.
Yeah. Just before that, I have the PR for the integration with the job API. It's already up, but I didn't want it to just ping any one of you until we get the workload API merged and until I get the SIG apps reviewed as well. So Maciek already had first review yesterday, and he will have like a deep review once he's back. But for now, it seems like he's okay with, like whatever implemented there. So hopefully that means that, like we have a good progress in the job integration. Okay, so for the workload Slack and label, we had a PR for a new label, which is workload dash aware. It's an area, a new area label. Um, uh, it's dedicated for everything related to workload aware, and hopefully we will start to use it across all repos. I added it to the KK enhancement and website, so we can track the progress for this work stream, and this make it possible to have the dashboard. So I created a new dashboard for the workload aware. It's typically, like smaller than the SIG scheduling, but like similar to it. So now, if Dominic, if you can open it, it's like you can see the current release, you can see all the PRs and issues, and it has the same status that like we used to. So for people who are interested only on workload aware, they can track all the issues, enhancement, PRs here. Hopefully this will just like organize our thoughts a little bit and just like take some load from the SIG scheduling, because I feel so bad actually for SIG scheduling now. They have a lot of things in their plates. This is
Right.
one. The second thing is the Slack channel. I have a PR still open for the Slack channel. It's not merged yet because I don't know. Like I need to bring the Slack admins again. But once we have this, all what will happen, what's happening is just moving the conversation there, and be like a place for everything related to workload aware. I think that's it. Please let me know if you have any comment, any feedback.
Yeah, I think I don't have like any concerns. We will see how it goes. As I said, it's completely fine to use workload hour scheduling, because I think this is something that we should be clear about. Make it visible, easy to find, and everyone who is interested specifically in scheduling topics, they will know that they need to go to SIG scheduling. But most of the people would be interested in general how to integrate with us. So that would be probably the channel. We probably will have some overlap. We cannot like avoid it, but I think it's fine as long as it's not super confusing to people.
I think the overlap is happening all the time with other working groups. So if we consider the WAS as a working group, this overlap will happen with every SIG from time to time. But at least, like we will have just one place to concentrate, like for people who wanted to concentrate on the workload, our work stream to follow.
Mm-hmm. And if we have working group, then I don't know, we either will migrate to a new channel. I think it's not an issue right now. We don't have to worry about that.
Or maybe we will not have to create one. Let's
Yeah,
see.
there is, as far as I know, there is no like requirement that.
Yeah.
the Slack channel has to be.
No, there is no requirement now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks, Heba, for this. Andrei, you have a.
Yeah, I know we have 5 minutes, but maybe at least we can quickly talk about it. Yeah, I think like I just want to maybe let you know that we started this proposal to integrate workload API to train job, similar to what we're doing for job set and I guess leader worker sets in the one dot after 1.36. So I guess like our goal is to, like socialize this effort across the community. I think similar to job sets, we do have some interesting use cases for MPI and for multiple initializers when actually we can reuse not only gang scheduling but even like basic policy. I was thinking about how we can play this in 136, especially for multi-staging orchestration, because today like in train job API we do have ability to orchestrate like initializers, data cache, MPI clusters. So I think there are a bunch of use cases we can explore, not only on training or maybe even on batch inference side. So this is something also like I will try to push community to help us build support for. I probably like don't go over like the proposal items here, but if any of you can want to provide any feedback or suggestions, please let us know on your feedback. I kind of like maybe want to ask this group in terms of the future thinking on the API we should expose to user, because I know today like we do support gang scheduling, and we also have a way to configure preemption and also the topology constraint, right? So do we see that those higher level controllers will also expose this API to the user? And how do you think this controller should work with those APIs?
So that's essentially the problem that we were discussing before, and we don't
Okay.
have good answers yet, but we need them in like ideally in 137. I took a look at the PR today, so I noticed like you are using this like explicit opt-in, right? Like in form of this workload plugin or whatever is the.
Yes.
Like I'm not familiar with train job, right? But
Yeah. So yeah, basically, yeah. Like we have this idea of plugins similar to scheduling, schedule plugins actually. Like Yuki and myself was actually building this a couple of years ago, and the idea was yes, like we can integrate multiple plugins to the extension framework, which allows us to like integrate with Volcano, post cost scheduling, and also like we're probably going to use this for
so
workload.
like this looks reasonable, like especially given we are like already similar concept, like or like similar ways to achieving the same are supported, right? Like using cost scheduling.
Yep.
But I think eventually, I just want to make sure we will like once we agree on the API, because ideally it should cover not only like in 3 APIs in controllers, but also like out of 3 like job sets.
Yeah.
So my question is like, do you think we will be able, like once we agree on something, we'll be able to change this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, right now we're in alpha, so we like it's actually a good question.
Okay.
So today we do have dependency on job set. Like we actually still using behind it. So this is actually was a long like the effort between multiple working groups to consolidate our like work streams. So we basically deprecated PyTorch job to have a one place to orchestrate multiple jobs within the job set. So we migrated from training operator to job set to the orchestration. And at the same time, job set API, they're in alpha. So we kind of right now have an alpha API in the train job. And we're thinking about, how we can move all this to beta and V1 eventually. But right now it's still an alpha. So we okay to break things similar to Cube. So it's fine for us. Yeah. So, but eventually, like, uh, we kind of like not limit ourselves to only job set. Like we have a way to, also orchestrate other CRDs, like, it could be, Slurm CRDs, it could be growth, doesn't matter because the extension framework allows us to do such things. It is possible. But right, yes, we can break things. It's possible.
Okay. So like I will be reaching out to you definitely like once I have like
I think
better mental model about like where we can go with this API on the controller side. But overall, like that's like great that I'm super happy that you are doing this like for the train job, because like the more integrations we get for workload API, and like the easier it will be to go to beta in 137, right? Because we will have proofs that it actually works, and the concept that we figure out like our design decisions were correct, right? So
yes.
so thank you very much for like doing this. So
Yeah. I mean, definitely we should drive this. And I think like, for us again, like more important question, like so the DRA topic, right? Like I think we had a like long discussion on the job site as well, job site side, like how the DRA integration will look like from those high level controllers. Do we see that workload API will be the main citizen for us to play with DRA? Like, what do you think on this?
So that's like similar to topology, right? We need to find
Okay.
a way to express those like constraints or requirements on the job on the work, like real workload side somehow, and then they will be translated to the workload API, right? Which scheduler knows like how to interpret and like how to schedule pods. But like the question is like, what should be the API? That's like very open problem right now, right? We don't have idea. But like as I said again, like I'm like started looking into this, and I'm trying to build some like mental model, like what are the options, what we have, like
Yep.
off top of my head, like so some ideas that float are, for example, we could use like workload template, right? That is attached like somehow to a real workload controller, but like this obviously also has like some, it has like pros and cons. Like some other like similar APIs, for example, what Q uses, it uses annotations, right? It's also like
Yep.
has pros and cons, right? So I'm trying to like figure out like what are the options, and then I'll be like discussing with all of you, and hopefully like we will figure out something that works, and yeah, that we all agree
Yeah, I
it
agree.
makes
I agree.
sense.
Let's definitely talk about it more because, like, for us, it's important to understand, like what API will be exposed so we can design the future thinking, right? Like in terms of, whether we use templates,
It's
etc.
just
So,
right? Like it's very
okay.
hyper item. Like ideally, we'll have
Yep.
something for 137, something that we all agree on, and yeah.
And topology constraints, they're already there, like if I understand correctly. Okay, sounds good.
I think that
there, yeah.
the one thing that we definitely want to avoid, like from about the options, like if we are discussing, is to avoid a situation where every single controller will be adding like things on
that's
their
right.
own, and we will have like a complete mess that everyone will do the same thing differently. So like that's the worst. But like I think neither of the options is the clear winner at this point. But that one is a clear loser. So like
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But like Andrei, like you said, we have topology there, meaning like where in the workload API or like where?
Yeah. I think like for us, I mean, we need to understand, maybe not right now, but like in later discussion, like how we want to expose this to user. Like we do have this idea of, like different personas, and we have this kind of reusable templates on runtime, and I have a train job, and we need to figure out, which persona should interact with this API and how it should interact. Because Q has that, like this different CRD. I don't know
think my
if,
laptop is
like, yeah.
restarting. The meeting may end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can
this
discuss later. I think it's not, we don't need to spend time right now. So
Sorry, my laptop is updating. I may be disconnected very soon.
right, then I guess we can, wrap it up. So thanks everyone. Again, looking forward to all these comments. So let's continue the conversation offline. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not able to finish the meeting. If there is anyone else there.